Good morning, my dear students. Today we are continuing with our DP Chapter 2 Electoral Politics. Students, yesterday we were studied about why elections, why do we need elections, and what makes an elections democratic. Today I will explain you about is it good to have a political competition? What is our system of election? In this, I will explain you about electoral constituencies and reserved constituencies. Now, students, is it good to have political competition? Now, elections are thus all about political competition. This competition takes various forms. The most obvious form is the competition among political parties. At the constituency level, it takes the form of competition among several candidates. If there is a no competition, election will become pointless. Now, students, an electoral competition has many demerits and merits too. Now, demerits of having electoral competition. It creates a sense of disunity and factionalism in every locality. You would have heard of people complaining of party politics in your locality. Different political parties and leaders often level allegations against one another. Parties and candidates often use dirty tricks to win election. Some people say that this pressure to win electoral fight does not allow sensible long-term policies to be formulated. Some good people who may wish to serve the country do not enter this arena. They do not like the idea of being dragged into unhealthy competition. Now, students, merit of political or electoral competition. Our constitution makers were aware of these problems, yet they opted for free competition in elections as the way to select a future leader. They did so because this system works better in the long run. In an ideal world, all political leaders know what is good for the people and are motivated only by the desire to serve them. Political competition is not necessary in such an ideal world, but that is not what happens in real life. Political leaders all over the world, like all other professionals, are motivated by a desire to advance their political careers. They want to remain in power or get power and positions for themselves. They may wish to serve the people as well, but it is risky to depend entirely on their sense of duty. Besides, even when they wish to serve the people, they may not know what is required to do so, or their ideas may not match what the people really wants. Now, students, how do we deal with this real life situation? So, what can be done to improve the political situation? On one way is to try and improving the knowledge and character of political leaders. The other hand, more realistic way is to set up system where political leaders are rewarded for serving the people and punished for not doing so. Who decided this reward or punishment? In a democracy, rewards and punishments for political parties is in the hands of people who vote them to power. Now, the simple answer is the people. This is what electoral competition does. Regular electoral competition provides incentives to political parties and leaders. They know that if they raise issue that people want to be raised, their popularity and chances of victory will increase in the next election. But if they fail to satisfy the voters with their work, they will not able to win again. Now, students, so, if a political party is motivated only by desire to be in power, even then it will be forced to serve the people. This is a bit like the way of market works. Even if a shopkeeper is interested only in his profit, he is forced to give good service to the customers. If he does not, the customers will go to some other shop. Similarly, political competition may cause division and some ugliness, but it finally helps to force political parties and leaders to serve the people. Now, students, what is a system of election? Now, can we say that Indian elections are democratic? To answer this question, let us take a look at how elections are held in India. Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha assembly elections are held regularly after every 5 years. After 5 years, the term of all the elected representatives comes to an end. The Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha stands dissolved. Elections are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. This is called a general elections. Now we were studied about different type of election in India or difference between the general, by and midterm election. So elections are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. This is called a general election. Now, sometimes elections is held only for one constituency to fill the vacancy caused by death or resignation of a member. This is called a by election. Now, midterm election. The Lok Sabha or State Assembly may be dissolved before its term of 5 years is before. Midterm poll is required to constitute a new house. In fact, the expression midterm election has no legal significance because election to the Lok Sabha is invariably called a general elections. Now students, electoral constituencies. You read about the people of Haryana electing 90 MLAs in first case study, Chaudhry Devilal. You all know about that case study. So in that we all were studied about that people of Haryana electing 90 MLAs. You may have wondered how they did that. Did every person in Haryana vote for all the 90 MLAs? You perhaps know that this is not the case. In our country, we follow an area based system of representation. The country is divided into different areas for purposes of election. These areas are called electoral constituencies. The voters who live in area elect one representative. For Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called Member of Parliament or an MP. One of the feature of democratic election is that every vote should have equal value. That is why our constitution requires that each constituency should have a roughly equal population living within it. Similarly, each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. In this case, the elected representative is called Member of Legislative Assembly or an MLA. Each parliamentary constitution has within it several assembly constituencies. The same principle applies for panchayats and municipal elections. Each village or town is divided into several wards that are like constituencies. Each ward elect one members of the village or the urban local body. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats, for each constituency represent one seat in the assembly. When we say that Lok Dal won 60 seats in Haryana, it means that candidates of Lok Dal won to 60 assembly constituencies in the state, and thus Lokdal had 60 MLAs in state assembly. Now students, reserved constituencies. Our constituencies entitles every citizen to elect his or her representative and to be elected as a representative. The constitution maker, however, were worried that in an open electoral competition, certain weaker sections may not stand a good chance to get elected to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly. They may not have the required resources, educations, and contacts to contest and win election against other. Those who are influential and resourceful may prevent them from winning election. If that happens, our parliament and assembly would be deprived of the voice of significant section of our population. That would make our democracy less representative and less democratic. So the members of our constitution thought of a special system of reserved constituencies. Some constituencies were reserved constituencies for the weaker section. Some constituencies are reserved for people who belongs to the scheduled caste SC and scheduled tribe ST. In a SC reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the scheduled caste can stand for election. Similarly, only those belongs to scheduled tribes can contest an election from a constituency reserved for ST. Currently, in the Lok Sabha, 84 seats are reserved for the scheduled caste and 47 for the scheduled tribe. This number is in proportion to their share in the total population. Thus, the reserved seats for SC and ST do not take away the legitimate share of any other social group. This system of reservation was extended later to other weaker sections at the districts and local level. In many states, seats in rural panchayats and urban municipalities and corporations, local bodies are now reserved for other backward class OBC as well. However, the proportion of seats reserved varies from state to states. Similarly, one third of the seats are reserved in rural and urban local bodies for women candidates. Thank you, students.